25 years and 10 albums into their career, Between the Buried and Me return with The Blue Nowhere. It's out on Inside Out on the 12th of September, and I'm joined today by bassist and keyboard player Dan Briggs. Dan, how are you today?
I'm good. How you doing?
Not bad at all. So, I listened to The Blue Nowhere a few times actually, and it really leaves no stone unturned musically. How does the band approach songwriting for these albums? Because I know you work remotely. Is there a sort of formula? Someone starts it and then next person adds on and
It's
adds
all
on.
it's all different song to song, but it's basically like, throughout a touring cycle for an album, we're all working individually, in between tours, just kind of, you know, just honestly, it's just like brains wide open, whatever comes in. And once the touring cycle is over, we might take a month or so off and then start to be like, hey, here's kind of where I'm at. Here's, stuff that I've been chipping away at the last, couple of years, or little bits refining, or, exploring. And so that's cool, because then everybody basically comes with like, like a song that they're putting forward, kind of like, here's where I'm at. And on this record, I'm trying to think. For me, that was like Things We Tell Ourselves in the Dark, and and some big chunks of Slow Paranoia. And for Blake, it was, Absent Thereafter. Blake and Paul were kind of chipping away at that, and then Paul came in with a lot of Blue Nowhere put together. And Tommy had God Terror that we, and so it was cool because then we all had these little bits um, to dig into, and just set a tone from the beginning. And then obviously, as the session then grows, more ideas are coming in, and you're able to like piece things based off of where you're structuring um and laying out the album. So there's like a chunk of the album that's really interconnected. Well, there's a couple, I would say, even though Things We Tell Ourselves in the Dark and God Terror are so different. There's a
Mm.
melody that comes in later in God Terror that's from Things We Tell Ourselves, but you have stuff like Psychomantium and Slow Paranoia, and the lead-in track to Psychomantium, that are really like, really tying it together as like a fucking weirdo suite.
Yeah, man.
I love that section. That section of the album is so fun and so like, I mean, it's so intense, but so like theatrical too.
Absolutely.
So
I wanted to get onto that because is there a plan sometimes like because you like stylistically, right? You've got like put a Spanish bit here or put some 80s funk here or I mean, are these part of the initial songwriting process or do you just go, hey, it would be really fun if we went Spanish on this bit? Or, because
it's that's not even really the thinking. That part in particular on door number three, Paul had written the majority of that guitar line, and he was hearing it being kind of a heavier thing leading into the chorus. And when I started learning it on guitar, and I'm always like approaching stuff on acoustic guitar. He does mostly too, but I started chunking away at it, and I was like, oh my gosh, now I'm hearing this like riaka, da,
yeah, right.
riaka, da, almost more like a tango kind of feel, and then wrote a B part of it off of it. And then part of the really fun way that we all work together is like, Paul had that initial idea. I formed it into something that felt like more of a tango, and then Blake was able to arrange it where it's like, well, instead of using that as a pre-chorus, let's have like this tune, and then it drops in out of it and then builds back up to the last chorus. So that's like a great example of like, all the minds kind of in working together within the framework of a song. And stuff like that is real natural, and just so you want it to feel like you're so entwined in the roots of the song. And so that's where it's like, it's like getting those notes that someone else has written under your fingers, and then being like, oh wait, why is, why are my fingers now wanting to go here? Why am I hearing this rhythm behind it, or this kind of beat and thing? And again, it's like this record in particular, not more so than any others, but there's something about this record where it really seemed like fun, you know, weirdo vibes were really kind of in the forefront, and made it really easy to bounce off of, no matter what dynamic it swung to after that.
Yeah, it is a really fun record. Now, with like 25 years under your belts, would you say like you've now got this unspoken language between you? Like this, I mean, I've been working with the same guy on my music for 30 years, and we
Oh,
don't
wow.
often use like normal talking like we're doing right now. We just know
Yeah,
what each other think, and you have this sort of shorthand you develop. Would you say that
absolutely.
that exists,
Yeah,
especially when you're
there's
working remotely, you know?
yeah, and we don't do a lot of conversing. We don't, like, way many moons ago, like, 20 years ago, when we were in the van touring, it was so cool at that time because we were so young, and there was so much, like, growing that was happening in our vocabulary and our playing and arranging. And so much of that came from listening to music in the van,
Mm,
and kind of exposing each other to new sounds. And now it's so funny because now all that stuff is so interwoven into, like, our fiber, where it's like, even if, I can hear something that, someone in the band might more directly be like, oh, this is a Cannibal Corpse vibe, or this is something, to me, I'm able to hear, like, a little differently. It's like, of course I know the Cannibal reference, but that's like not something that's in my vocabulary. So I am able to come to it and, like, verbalize my reaction in a different way, much like where I might present something where I'm like, something in like Slow Paranoia, where I'm like, I was very influenced by George Gershwin.
mm,
And that kind of doesn't matter because the guys are going to hear like a fun, quirky part, and be like, oh, great, this, I can pull from this kind of reference point. And that's what's so neat is we don't, we don't have those kind of conversations. As much as I do think it's still fun to kind of like share records innocently when something comes across new, especially that you're like, oh my God, did you hear, like, the Jordy Griep album, or something like that. When there's a new record that comes out that's really exciting, and you're like, oh, you guys got to check this out. This is so fucking out. Um, but really, most of it is just sharing the tunes, sharing ideas, everyone being like, "Oh, great, yeah, I can see," And so there's
mm.
there's so much trust that's built up, um, that we feel when you're putting something forward.
So, Blue Nowhere, as I understand it, is a concept album of sorts in that it takes place in a hotel in the middle of nowhere. And it's
Yeah,
a bunch of interlinking stories rather than one entire narrative. Is that correct?
that's what it seems like. I mean, that's Tommy's zone. He presented the idea to us, and he had this idea of it being more about a space and less about a character. And it's cool because you obviously have interactions that she interactions the characters have with the hotel, and ways that it kind of like morphs around them, and all the different ways, and the way it connects throughout the album, which I think is so cool. And it's really awesome to be able to do the video for the Blue Nowhere recently and be able to, like, tie some of those ideas, some of those narratives, but even just something that, connects this idea where the space is a little bit more, dreamy, and liminal kind of. And that's, I think that's a fun place to set a narrative because I think much like, the music, it's so open to interpretation.
Absolutely. Yeah. No, it totally fits it. Totally fits it. I mean, like, so has there ever been a time when, as a bunch of musicians. Anyone's come up with an idea that you put forward a musical idea and you go, whoa, that's too way out? Because it seems like nothing's off limits in your band. Absolutely nothing.
No, it's about what fits the song more than anything. And that's where we come from. It's everything's all about the arrangement and all about getting the central core idea of the song. And from there you can have so many adventures. But it's more fun. It's more fun, especially over the years. You can adapt to like whatever, as long as you just sink into the vibe. A great example is, like I was saying, God Terror. It was like Tommy had this beginning, and verse, and kind of built up idea, like this whole like structure sort of thing, where it was so easy to sink your teeth into and just go wild in the bridge of that song. Because there was already so much of a vibe, so much of a thing to build off of, that you not only had this like key frame and like tempo, which just goes to the moon in the bridge, but you also had this vibe where it was like, oh, cool, this is like a real 90s industrial kind of vibe. It'd be so sick to carry that, with like the tone of the guitar gets real synthesized during the bridge, and it just builds off this feeling more and just gets more like, chaotic in a different way that the verse is kind of showing, but it's all built off, like it just wouldn't have existed outside of that. So everything's open just as long as it fits the tune and it's right in the moment,
So I should imagine, with all this like musical experience and like you have and all this expertise, that I suppose if nothing's off limits, you probably rarely get writer's block. Like, has writer's block ever come along?
Writer's block is sorry, I gotta start driving. Writer's block is not a thing I've dealt with really, and so much of that comes down to like general process and like not forcing anything and knowing step away, knowing when to take a break, and that's such a big thing. But what's so nice in this band is there's 4 composers, 4 people that in their own right can kind of write a tune. And, for me, I've always kind of felt like I feel like this ball of like creative energy, and I'm just waiting for a spark. And so I love getting, an idea from Blake or Tommy or Paul, where it just sets you off and you're down a path that you couldn't have imagined. So like I was saying, you're kind of gathering some initial ideas just to show where you are before the writing session starts. And then once it starts, it's more about just tapping into an energy and being able to react as stuff is coming across your plate. And that's just like so incredibly exciting.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Now, you don't seem to repeat yourself, but this summer you did repeat yourself because you played at Arctangent here, our beloved Arctangent Festival, twice.
We loved it. Yeah.
Twice, 2 sets. You did, and you did a album set of colours, I believe, that went down exceptionally well, because I know the Arctangent crowd and they are big.
We did that one night, and then the second night we did kind of like a mixed bag set.
Yeah.
And we did that at another festival that summer in the Czech Republic. And yeah, it was just, we were just kind of bouncing between the 2 sets. I think we were getting different kind of offers from promoters and festivals. So it was like, okay, we can do the one album and then, kind of do a set that showcases more of like, everything that we've done throughout the years, which, we've done a lot of the album sets in America. So it's right now we're so excited to be able to just present a cool night of music that's like kind of all over the map in our career. And I love that so much because you tap into an era and you get a bit of it and it's fun. And then you get to try to connect it to something from 2025 or other points throughout your career. And that's a really fun task, because it's almost like putting together and sequencing an album.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. So the album's out on Friday, as we've said, or by the time this comes out, it's out now. Yeah, what's your 2026 looking like? Is that going to be a lot of touring with this new album?
I have no fucking idea. I just proposed to my girlfriend, so we'll probably be having a celebration at some point. Yeah, thank you. Yeah, so we're finishing out the year. We have rehearsals starting tomorrow, and we leave on Sunday for a 6-week tour across the States and Canada. And then we'll be shut down until February. We come over to Europe in February.
Cool.
And that's kind of that. You know, it's been like a weirdly I mean, it's been a busy year. Like, we've kind of been on since January. We were prepping to go in the studio. We spent all of February in the studio, and then we had to learn 2 records for a tour in April across the States. And then we had a little time off over the summer, but had to prep 2 sets for Europe. So,
right.
You know, it's been really locked in. And so it'll be nice to, you know, refresh a little bit after this tour. But yeah, we can't wait to get it out and then get back over to Europe.
Awesome. Well, we'll see you over here. I look forward to coming to one of the shows. And thank you for talking to me today, mate.
Awesome. Take it easy, man.